The dungeon breathed like a wounded beast, slow, cold exhales drifting through cracks in the stone. Midnight pressed heavy against the fortress walls, smothering all light except the thin blue arc of the crescent moon seeping through the barred window above her head. The Omega sat in chains, wrists glowing faintly where the metal burned into her bloodline mark. Her name was Lyra, though no one dared speak it anymore. She lifted her face when she sensed him. Not footsteps. Not scent. Something deeper, like the air trembling in anticipation. The guards bowed before the shadow at the stairwell. A tall figure stepped into the torchlit corridor, his black cloak sweeping the floor like a wolf's tail. Alpha King Kael, silver-eyed and battle-scarred, paused at the threshold of her cell. His power filled the room like a storm front. Even the torches flickered lower in his presence. "Open it," he said, voice quiet enough to unsettle stone. Iron squealed as the guards obeyed, but Kael didn't enter immediately. He looked at the shackled Omega, really looked, as though searching for something he expected to be gone by now. Lyra didn't lower her gaze, though Omega law demanded it. She simply sat straighter, moonlight tracing the bruises on her jaw. "Why haven't you cried out?" Kael asked, stepping inside. "Because pain means nothing," she whispered. "Not compared to destiny." Something unreadable passed across his face. Recognition, perhaps fear. He knew the moon goddess did not tie souls together lightly. And she had tied his to the Omega in chains. But destiny was forbidden. She was accused of betraying the crown. She was to be executed by dawn. Unless he rewrote the law. Unless he chose her. Kael had spent years mastering the throne, the armies, the Pack Council, the laws carved into stone by kings older than memory. Yet nothing had prepared him for the moment he felt Lyra's bond thread brush against his heart. It had happened weeks ago, in the ruins beneath the Winter Court, when she had thrown herself between him and a rogue wolf's blade. An Omega protecting an Alpha King, such a thing was unheard of. The moon goddess had marked them both that night. And Kael had run from it. "Your scent," he murmured now, stepping closer. "It hasn't dimmed." "It won't," Lyra said. "Not unless you reject me." A muscle flickered in his jaw. Rejection was death for an Omega with a fated bond. A soft death, silent and untraceable, the soul thinning until nothing remained. He should have rejected her the moment the council demanded it. But he couldn't. Not then. Not now. "Tell me why you did it," he said. "Why you confessed to a crime you didn't commit." Lyra closed her eyes as cold air swept over her bare arms. "To protect the heir," she whispered. "Your nephew. The prophecy." "Kael, they would have killed him if I didn't take the blame." The words hit him harder than any blade. "And you chose chains?" "For the kingdom," she breathed. "For you." Kael exhaled once, sharply, as if her devotion cut deeper than betrayal ever had. The dungeon ceiling dripped meltwater from the mountain spine, each drop echoing against the floor like a slow heartbeat. Kael paced, cloak sweeping around him, trying to reconcile the truth he had ignored for weeks. Lyra had protected the heir. She had obeyed the moon goddess. She had carried the prophecy's burden alone. "Show me your wrists," he said. She hesitated. Then lifted them, chains rattling softly. Blue burn marks circled her skin like cruel bracelets. Kael's breath darkened. "This metal is forged for traitors," he muttered. "Not for Omegas of royal blood." "I am no royal," she said. "You saved one." He reached out, but didn't touch her. His fingers hovered above the iron, heat gathering beneath his skin. A faint glow shimmered around his palm, the Alpha King's bloodline power awakening. Lyra swallowed. "Kael, don't. If I break these chains, your fate becomes mine," he said. "There is no turning back." Her voice softened, small but steady. "Then why are you here?" He didn't answer. Couldn't. Because the truth was unbearable. If he left her here, the executioner's blade would fall at dawn. And his heart would die with her. Kael knelt before her, the fur of his cloak brushing stone, a gesture no Alpha King should ever make before an Omega. His nearness filled her lungs with the scent she had tried for weeks to forget: pine, frost, steel, and the wild echo of wolf form beneath his skin. "Look at me," he said. "I am," she whispered. He reached forward and lifted her chin, gently despite the tension straining through his muscles. "The Council will condemn us both," Kael murmured. "The Pack will see this as weakness." "A king who bows to an Omega. Not weakness," she said. "Truth." For a moment, silence wrapped around them like a cloak. Her bond mark glowed faintly beneath the collar of her dress, pulsing with each heartbeat. Kael felt his own mark respond, an invisible pull along his spine. "It would be easier," he whispered, "to walk away. Then do it." He didn't move. He couldn't. The bond held him with the strength of prophecy, of fate, of every moonlit thread the goddess had woven into their blood. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, defeated, and breaking. "I tried," he said. "But destiny keeps leading me back to you." Tears filled her eyes, silent, fragile, but she didn't let them fall. Kael rose from his knees with the slow caution of a man preparing for war. He drew a dagger from his belt, the ceremonial blade etched with the sigils of his ancestors. Lyra tensed, but his eyes softened. "I am not here to harm you," he said. "I am here to decide." Moonlight spilled across the blade, revealing the runes meant only for kings, a weapon used to cut bloodline magic, to sever chains forged by shifter law. "Kael," her voice trembled. "If you do this, I know. You will become an oath breaker." "I already am." He stepped behind her, tracing the chain where it met the stone pillar. His breath warmed the back of her neck, sending a shiver through her. The bond thrummed like a living thing, urging him forward. "Tell me to stop," he murmured. She didn't. The dagger touched metal. Bright light sparked. The chain snapped with a howl of magic. Lyra gasped as her wrists fell free. Kael exhaled slowly, as if releasing years of denial. "Your life," he whispered, "is now bound to mine." The torches flickered wildly, as though the dungeon itself felt the shift in fate. The Alpha King had chosen the Omega in chains. And the kingdom would never be the same. The moment the chains fell, the cold dungeon air shifted. It wasn't a breeze, nor the torches flickering. It was something older, something sacred. A faint silver shimmer rippled across the stone floor, as if the moon goddess herself had turned her gaze toward them. Lyra felt it first. A tingling warmth rose beneath her skin, threading up her spine to settle behind her heart. Her bond mark pulsed softly, glowing through the torn fabric of her sleeve. Kael noticed. "Your mark," he whispered. "It's strengthening." "That happens when a bond is accepted," Lyra said quietly. He froze. "I didn't speak acceptance." "You didn't have to," she said. "Breaking those chains was enough." Kael's breath caught. The realization hit him harder than a blade. The moon goddess had interpreted his actions as choice. Lawbreakers had consequences, but goddess-acknowledged bonds had power beyond any council decree. Slowly, Lyra pulled her wrist closer to her chest, rubbing the raw burns. Kael's hands rose instinctively, as if to help, but she shook her head. "I can heal," she murmured. "Omegas always heal. It's our nature." "Not from everything," he said softly. Their eyes met. Something passed between them, gratitude, longing, fear. A quiet truth neither dared name yet. Outside the dungeon, distant howls broke through the night. Not the usual chorus of patrolling wolves. These sounded urgent. Alarmed. Kael's expression hardened. "Rogue movement," he muttered. "They're testing the borders again." Lyra tensed, instinctively reaching for her shackled wrists before remembering they were gone. He turned to her. "You're not safe here. Not anymore." "But Kael, I freed you. The council will smell that choice on me before dawn. They will hunt you first." His voice carried a threat, not toward her, but toward anyone who would dare touch her. Lyra's heart pounded. "What do you intend to do?" He extended his hand. "Take you somewhere no one can reach you." "Where?" His silver eyes softened in the shadows. "Anywhere away from this dungeon, but close enough that I don't lose you." Kael didn't wait for Lyra to take his hand. He simply turned and began unbolting the iron cell door from within, an act unimaginable for a king. When it swung open, the corridor beyond seemed endless and dangerous, every shadow filled with listening ears. "Stay behind me," he murmured. Lyra hesitated only a moment before stepping close. The scent of his cloak, pine, smoke, the electric hum of alpha dominance, wrapped around her like a shield. They moved quickly, Kael's boots silent despite their weight, Lyra's bare feet soft against the freezing stone. Torches hissed as they passed, casting torn silhouettes along the walls. "Where are the guards?" Lyra whispered. "Patrolling above. I dismiss most of them tonight." "Why?" He glanced back at her. "Because I planned to see you. Even if I told myself I wouldn't." Her breath caught. "Kael." "Don't," he said softly. "Not now." They reached the end of the corridor where a heavy wooden door stood half-rotten, reinforced with rusted metal. Kael swept his palm across a sigil etched near the lock. The glyph flared silver, reacting to his bloodline. With a silent groan, the door opened into a narrow passage slanting downward. Lyra blinked. "There's another level beneath the dungeon?" "One that only kings know," he replied. "And those they trust." "Do you trust me?" He paused. The torchlight painted a warm gold along his jawline, contrasting the cold silver of his eyes. "I trust the bond," he said. "And that's more dangerous than trusting you." She didn't understand at first, until he stepped aside, letting her see what lay below. Water. A vast underground reservoir gleaming faintly with moon-reflected light, fed by hidden streams under the mountain. It was beautiful and terrifying, an ancient sanctuary few ever saw. "This way," he said, offering his arm. "We'll reach the northern exit through the water tunnels." Lyra swallowed. "It looks freezing." "It is," Kael said. "But safer than the Council's wrath." Cold stabbed at Lyra's skin the moment she stepped into the water. Her breath stuttered, teeth chattering as the chill slid up her calves, her thighs, her waist. Kael stepped in after her, the water barely reaching his chest though it rose nearly to her shoulders. His body radiated heat, a furnace against the icy cavern. "Stay close," he said, guiding her to the shallowest path. "The currents can be unpredictable." She drifted nearer instinctively, her fingers brushing his arm. Sparks skittered through her body, not just from touch, but from the bond responding to proximity. Kael inhaled sharply, steadying himself. "Lyra," he murmured, warning. "You're amplifying the bond." "I'm not trying to." "I know," he said through clenched teeth. "That's the problem." Water dripped from the stalactites overhead, echoing like distant heartbeats. The tunnel narrowed, forcing them closer until her shoulder pressed against his chest. Every exhale he released warmed the top of her head. Every shift of muscle beneath his cloak felt like a promise and a danger. "We are almost through," Kael said, though his voice had lost some of its earlier command. It was softer now, cracked in places he rarely showed anyone. Lyra tilted her head up. "Why are you helping me?" He didn't look at her. "Because fate demands I do." "That isn't the same as wanting to." He stopped walking. The water stilled around them. Slowly, Kael lowered his gaze to hers. The cavern's faint light carved shadows across his cheekbones, but his silver eyes glowed unmistakably. "I want to," he said. Her breath faltered. "But wanting you," he continued quietly, "could destroy the kingdom." The water tunnel ended in a thin sheet of cascading moonlit droplets. Kael pushed through first, gripping the rocky edge before lifting himself onto land. Then he bent, arms extended. "Come!" Lyra let him pull her from the freezing water. Her dress clung to her skin, heavy and dripping, but Kael shrugged off his cloak and wrapped it around her shoulders before she could protest. Warmth swallowed her instantly, carrying his scent in thick waves. "Thank you," she whispered. He didn't answer. His jaw was tight, eyes scanning the cavern for threats. They weren't safe yet. Far above them, a narrow stone staircase spiraled around the chamber until it reached an iron gate at the top. Its bars silvered by moonlight seeping through cracks in the mountain. "That leads outside the fortress," Kael said. "We'll take horses from the northern ridge." Lyra gazed up the dizzying height. "It's a long climb. I'll carry you." She blinked. "Kael, you don't need." "I know what I need," he interrupted. "And what I don't." He knelt before her, back turned. "Climb on." Lyra hesitated only a heartbeat before looping her arms around his shoulders. The moment her chest pressed against his back, Kael inhaled sharply, bond energy tightening between them like a drawn bow. He rose smoothly, supporting her weight as though she were made of nothing. Step by step the climb began. The cavern echoed with each breath, each shift of muscle, each unspoken fear. Lyra rested her cheek against his shoulder, eyes fluttering closed. "Kael," she whispered, barely audible. "What happens when dawn comes?" His grip tightened around her legs. "Dawn will not find you," he said. "I swear it. But the council. Let them come for me." The gates loomed closer. "And if they decree your dethronement?" He paused on the next step. "Then I will fight," he said. "For my throne. For my kingdom." A tremor moved through him, soft but unmistakable. "And for you." They reached the final steps. The iron northern gate stood tall, ancient runes etched across its surface, warding spells that only the ruling Alpha King could unlock. Kael lowered Lyra gently to her feet before placing his hand on the sigils. Silver light flowed from his palm into the engraving, weaving through each line like living moonfire. The gate responded with a long, low groan, opening just enough for them to slip through. Cold night air rushed over them, carrying pine frost and distant wolf song. Lyra shivered, pulling Kael's cloak tighter around her. He stepped close, not touching her, but close enough that her breath mingled with his. "What happens now?" she asked. "We run." "To where?" "A place where the council cannot reach us. A sanctuary older than this kingdom." He hesitated, eyes softening. "A place where I can think without the throne's weight." She swallowed. "And what about us?" Kael exhaled slowly, the cold turning his breath into pale mist. "The bond is stronger now," he admitted. "Breaking your chains bound us more deeply than I intended. You regret it?" He held her gaze. "No." Her heart tripped. "Then why do you sound afraid?" "Because I'm beginning to want something the law forbids me to have." His words swirled around her like warm smoke, dangerous, tender, impossible. The moonlight haloed his hair, sharpening the lines of his face in a way that made him seem both king and man. Lyra stepped closer. "Kael, say what you're afraid of." He leaned in, forehead brushing hers, voice trembling for the first time. "I'm afraid the moon goddess didn't curse me with this bond." He inhaled her scent, breath hitching. "She blessed me with you." Her lips parted. The bond thrummed violently, aching, yearning. "But if I claim you now," Kael whispered, "war will follow." Lyra lifted her hand to his cheek, thumb brushing a drop of water clinging to his jaw. "Then let war come," she said softly. "I forgive you, Kael." His eyes closed, tormented relief shuddering through him. "Lyra!" He swallowed. "You shouldn't." But she did. And destiny shifted again. The wind cut sharp across the northern ridge as Kael and Lyra stepped into the open night. Snow swirled in shifting spirals, each flake luminescent beneath the crescent moon. Kael's instincts prickled even before the wolves' howls rose, long, rolling, urgent. Lyra tightened her hold on the cloak. "That call, it's not a patrol howl." "No," Kael said. "It's a summons. Someone knows. Someone suspects." He moved fast, guiding her down the ridge path. His scent grew sharper. Storm-scented, resolute, as his wolf instincts surged under his skin. Lyra felt the tension radiating off him, felt it tug at her mark. The bond hummed, warning both of them that destiny was shifting again. Behind them, a horn sounded from the fortress walls. Lyra flinched. "They're calling the Pack Council," Kael cursed under his breath. "They've discovered the chains," she whispered. "And my absence," he said grimly. "They'll send riders. Perhaps even the High Seer." Lyra's stomach twisted. "The High Seer can sense bonds." "I know. Kael, if they find us." "They won't," he said sharply, but the fear beneath his tone betrayed him. "I won't let them take you." Snow crunched behind them. Kael froze, hand going instantly to the dagger at his belt. Lyra felt the shift in the air, the faint smell of another wolf approaching. A guard? A hunter? Or worse, a rival alpha? Kael pulled Lyra behind him, shoulders tensing. His wolf stirred beneath his skin, ready to break free. But when the figure emerged from the snowstorm, Kael's scowl eased, only slightly. It was Commander Thorn, the one warrior Kael trusted with more than his own life. Thorn halted several paces away, panting, frost clinging to his beard. "My king," he said, eyes darkening as he saw Lyra free of chains. "The council knows. They've convened in the throne hall. They're preparing charges against you." "Against me?" Kael growled. "And her. Execution by dawn, unless you return." Lyra stepped forward. "I won't let Kael." Kael silenced her with a glance. "No. You won't throw yourself to them again." Thorn swallowed hard. "Kael, the High Seer is calling for your immediate submission. If you're not on the throne steps before sunrise, the council will declare you unfit to rule." "And who takes my throne?" Thorn hesitated. "Alpha Raiden." Kael's expression turned lethal. Lyra felt her pulse stutter. A rival alpha. A warmonger. A wolf whose hatred for Omegas was legendary. The council was choosing war. And it would begin at sunrise. Lyra's heartbeat thudded in her ears as Kael grabbed the horse Thorn had brought, his black stallion, Stormbinder. Snow whipped violently across the ridge, stinging Lyra's face as Kael lifted her onto the saddle. "Ride with me," he said. Thorn stepped closer. "Kael, if you leave now, there may be no returning." Kael mounted behind Lyra, pulling her securely against his chest. "I know. You'll be hunted." "I know." Thorn's voice broke. "You may lose the throne." "I know." Lyra felt every word tremble through him, pain, fury, heartbreak. Thorn bowed his head, fist to chest. "Then may the moon goddess guide your path." Kael's hand brushed Lyra's waist. "She already has." Stormbinder bolted forward, hooves pounding through snow. Lyra clung to Kael's arm, breath torn from her lungs by the freezing wind. She felt his heartbeat against her back, fast, fierce, alive. Minutes stretched into miles. Until the ridge dropped away and the forest opened before them like a silver sea. Moonlight danced across frost-covered branches, illuminating an ancient stone archway half buried in snow, its ruins glowing faintly, warm against the night. Lyra gasped. "This place." Kael slowed the stallion. "Moonfall Sanctuary. I thought it was destroyed in the War of Wolves." "No. Only hidden." As Stormbinder halted, Kael dismounted and helped Lyra down, his hands lingering at her waist longer than necessary. "This sanctuary," he said softly, "was built for those chosen by the moon goddess. Bonded pairs. Marked souls." Lyra swallowed. "So we're safe here?" "For now." He stepped closer, breath mingling with hers. "But Moonfall reacts to truth. If we lie to ourselves or to each other, the sanctuary will reject us." Her pulse jumped. Kael held out his hand. "Come, Lyra. Let the sanctuary judge us." The archway glowed brighter as they approached, runes sparking like stars trapped in stone. Lyra felt warmth spread across her skin, seeping into her bones. The bond mark over her heart pulsed in rhythm with Kael's steps behind her. When she crossed the threshold, a soft echo trembled through the air, like the low hum of the moon goddess breathing. Lyra froze. "What is that?" "Moonfall examining the bond," Kael said. "Testing its truth." Light gathered beneath their feet. Silver mist rising in delicate tendrils, swirling around their ankles. The mist twisted higher, brushing Lyra's waist, her shoulders, circling her throat like a questioning whisper. Kael stepped beside her, both of their bodies now cocooned in the silver haze. "It knows you're afraid," he murmured. "I'm not afraid." "You are." Lyra's breast shuddered. "I'm afraid of losing you." Kael's eyes softened. "And I'm afraid of wanting you so much it destroys everything I've built." The mist tightened around them, waiting. Kael reached forward and took her hand. The mist surged upward as if inhaling. Lyra's heart hammered. Kael leaned in, lips brushing her temple. "Tell the sanctuary the truth, Lyra." Her voice came out a whisper. "I want you. I always have." Silver mist burst like a silent explosion, spiraling upward around them in a brilliant vortex. Warmth engulfed them, flooding their veins with bright, pulsing heat. The sanctuary accepted the bond. Kael exhaled shakily as the light dimmed. "We are bound," he murmured. "More deeply than before." Lyra touched her mark. It glowed faintly, pulsing with Kael's heartbeat. "What does that mean?" "It means," Kael said, voice unsteady, "that the moon goddess herself has sanctioned us." And their fate was sealed. The sanctuary quieted, the last of the silver mist settling into the snow. Lyra felt lightheaded, as though she'd stepped from a dream into another. Kael stood inches away, his expression torn between awe and dread. "Kael," she whispered, "we did the right thing." "Yes." His jaw tightened. "But the council will call it treason." She opened her mouth to answer, but her senses pricked, sharp and sudden. A shift in the wind. A new scent. Metallic, bitter, tainted with ambition. Kael's nostrils flared. "Raiden!" The rival alpha stepped from between the trees, broad-shouldered, dark-haired, eyes glowing amber with greed. His wolf form simmered just beneath the surface. "Well," Raiden drawled, "the rumors were true. The Omega traitor is free, and the king has lost his mind." Kael moved instantly, placing himself between Lyra and Raiden. "Careful," Kael growled. "You stand on sacred ground." Raiden sneered. "Sacred? No. Abandoned. Like your rule." Lyra felt the sanctuary stir at his disrespect, the wind growing colder. Raiden didn't notice, or didn't care. "You broke the law for her," he taunted. "And the council has already voted. At sunrise I take your throne." Kael's muscles tensed with lethal promise. "You will not touch my kingdom." Raiden smirked. "Oh, I'll touch more than that. I'll make sure that Omega dies slowly." Kael's wolf surged so violently Lyra felt the shift ripple under her skin. "Say her name," Kael snarled, "and I'll end you." Raiden laughed. "You don't scare me anymore, Kael." Moonlight flashed across Kael's silver eyes, a warning, a vow, a storm ready to break. "Then you're a fool," Kael said. "Because the moon goddess now stands with us." The forest held its breath. Snowflakes hung motionless in the air as Kael and Raiden stared each other down, two alphas on sacred ground, destiny weaving between them like a drawn blade. Raiden stepped forward. "You can't win, Kael. The council is mine. The throne is mine. And when dawn comes—" Kael cut him off. "You will be dead before dawn if you take another step." Lyra expected Raiden to lunge. Instead, he smiled. "Slow, serpentine, poisonous. You're weakened, Kael," Raiden said. "You've bonded with an Omega. You've tied your power to hers." Kael didn't flinch. "That bond is my strength." "Is it?" Raiden tilted his head. "Or is it your downfall?" A sudden gust swept through the sanctuary, strong enough to whip Lyra's hair across her face. It carried something, an ancient whisper, a warning the moon goddess rarely sent so boldly. Kael stiffened. She's telling us to leave. Raiden's laughter echoed harshly. Run, then. Hide in your ruins. When the sun rises, the throne will be mine. Kael stepped closer, voice low and deadly. If you hurt anyone in my kingdom, any Omega, any child, any innocent soul. Raiden smirked. You'll be dethroned. You'll have no power to stop me. Kael growled, the sound thick with wolf. Lyra grabbed his arm. Kael. We need to go. Now. He looked at her, the storm in his eyes softening just enough. You're right. Raiden only smirked wider. Run, little king! Kael didn't rise to the bait. He simply took Lyra's hand and turned away, guiding her deeper into the sanctuary's glowing paths. Lyra felt Kael trembling, not with fear, but with rage and heartbreak. Kael, she whispered. His grip tightened around her hand. He will not take my throne, Kael said, voice breaking. And he will not take you. They slipped into the shadows of moonfall. War waited at sunrise. But love was rising with them. Moonfall's inner paths wound like veins through the mountain, each step echoing with soft whispers of old magic. Lyra walked at Kael's side, fingers still laced with his. The air here tasted different, less like frost and more like starlight, rich with the scent of ancient prayers and wolf souls gone before. They emerged into a wide cavern carved into a perfect circle. The ceiling arched high overhead, a dome of rock split by a narrow crack through which the crescent moon poured silver light. It fell directly onto a raised stone dais in the center of the chamber. Along the walls, murals had been etched into the stone: wolves, crowns, falling stars, a woman with a moon-shaped scar over her heart. Lyra's breath hitched. That mark! Kael followed her gaze. The carved woman stood between two wolves, one crowned, one chained. Over her heart, the artist had etched a crescent scar, lines radiating like rays of moonlight. Lyra reached up, fingers trembling as she brushed the carving. I've seen this before. Where? Kael asked. In dreams, she whispered. Since I was a child. The moon goddess standing between two kings. Kael's silver eyes narrowed. Read the inscription. Faint runes curved beneath the mural. Lyra stepped closer, allowing her Omega senses to piece together the old tongue. When chains are forged for the innocent, she translated softly, and law is twisted against the destined. The Alpha King who breaks the shackles will bind his fate to the Omega who forgives him. Together they will rewrite the Blood Moon's decree, or see the kingdom fall to shadow. Silence poured into the chamber. Kael, she breathed. This is us. His jaw flexed. Alpha King who breaks the shackles. Omega who forgives him. Lyra murmured. He stared at her, eyes bright with stunned realization and something like fear. The moon goddess planned this long before the council ever wrote their laws. Lyra swallowed. We're not just breaking rules, Kael. We're fulfilling a prophecy. His gaze slid to the throne carved in the mural, split down the middle by a crack of lightning. And if we fail, he said quietly, this kingdom breaks with us. They moved deeper into the chamber, where old offerings lay before the dais, dried flowers turned to dust, cracked bowls, wolf teeth threaded on worn leather. At the back, Lyra noticed a smaller archway, almost hidden, with a symbol above it, a crescent moon entwined with a crown. Luna sigil, Kael murmured. From before my dynasty. Lyra's heart stuttered. I know that symbol. Kael turned. How? She hesitated, then slowly reached for the neckline of her dress. Beneath the torn fabric, hidden by a simple cord, hung a small medallion. She tugged it free. It bore the same sigil. Kael stared. The air thickened. Lyra, he said quietly, where did you get that? My mother gave it to me, she whispered. She said I should never show it. That I was safer as a servant than as anything else. Anything else? He echoed, voice tight. Like what? She swallowed hard. Like the last living heir of a Luna line the council tried to erase. The words rang through the chamber like a bell. Kael stepped closer, hand hovering near the medallion. You're of the old Luna bloodline. My mother never explained everything, Lyra said, throat tightening. Only that the Pack Council feared our blood. That if they knew what I was, they would kill us both. So she hid me as an Omega servant in your castle. She made me swear never to seek the throne. Never to claim anything. Kael's expression shifted from shock to dawning clarity, rage sharpening at the edges. That's why they wanted you dead, he murmured. Not because you betrayed the crown. Because your blood threatens their power. Tears burned behind Lyra's eyes. I never wanted the throne. I know, he said. I never wanted to be an heir, or a Luna, or anything. I just wanted to survive. To serve. To help where I could. And yet the moon goddess chose you. Kael said softly. Chose you for me. His hand finally touched the medallion. A faint glow pulsed beneath his fingers. Lyra, he whispered, awe threaded through his voice. You're not just an Omega. You are fated Luna to the Alpha King. Lyra's heart broke a little at the tenderness in his tone. And that, he added darkly, is exactly what Raiden and the Council will not allow. A narrow tunnel from the prophecy chamber led to a smaller cavern, warm where the others had been cold. Steam curled lazily from a pool at the center, its surface reflecting the crescent moon from the crack above like a perfect silver coin. Lyra stepped closer, heat caressing her skin. It's warm. Moonfall Spring, Kael said. It restores shifter strength. Heals bond wounds, bloodline scars, battle injuries. She glanced at him, finally noticing the bruises along his jaw, the faint slice across his cheek from earlier skirmishes. His knuckles were split, dried blood clinging to his skin. You're hurt, she whispered. I've had worse. That doesn't mean you're not hurt. Before he could protest, she knelt by the pool and dipped a corner of his cloak into the warm water. Steam rose as it soaked through. Gently, she reached up and touched the cloth to his cheek. Kael stilled. The spring's warmth soaked into his skin, carrying a subtle charge of moon goddess magic. Lyra's fingers brushed his jaw, lingering without meaning to. Hold still, she murmured. His eyes closed briefly. When they opened again, they were softer, the silver gleam gentled by something achingly vulnerable. You shouldn't tend me, he said. I'm the Alpha King. And I'm your fated mate, she answered quietly. Destiny outranks your title. He huffed a low, surprised laugh. Is that so? She dabbed at his knuckles next. His hand dwarfed hers, fingers long and calloused. She could feel the wolf form thrumming beneath his skin, restless, protective, furious at how close he had come to losing everything. You risked your throne for me, she said softly. I risked more than that. And you still don't regret it? His gaze locked on hers, unshielded. I regret every moment I left you in that dungeon, he said. I regret every time I chose law over you. But breaking your chains? No. I would do it again. Her chest ached. The bond mark pulsed hot under her skin, echoing his words. For a heartbeat, their faces were inches apart, the warm mist wrapping around them, their breaths tangling. His hand rose, hovering near her cheek. Lyra, he whispered. Her eyes fluttered closed. But then, from far away, a distant roar of wolves shattered the fragile stillness. The sanctuary trembled faintly, the water rippling once. Kael pulled back, jaw tightening. Duty slamming between them again like a cold wall. War is coming, he said hoarsely. We don't have time to be selfish. Lyra's heart cracked at the restraint in his voice. Then let's not be, she whispered. Let's save your kingdom. The moon pool was not merely a place of healing. Its surface, when stilled, could reflect more than the ceiling above. As Kael laid his palm upon the water, the ripples smoothed, darkening like polished obsidian. Images flickered across it, blurry at first, then sharpening into the throne hall. Lyra gasped. The pack council filled the chamber, elders in heavy furs, warriors in steel. The throne sat empty, until Ryden strode forward, cloak snapping like a predator's tail. "He's wearing your crest," Lyra whispered, horrified. Kael's jaw clenched. "He has no right." The image swayed as the High Seer stepped forward, an old she-wolf with white hair braided down her back, eyes clouded but piercing. She raised her staff, its tip glowing faintly. "By decree of the Pack Council," she intoned, "in the absence of our reigning Alpha King, we prepare to name a new ruler." Ryden bowed theatrically. "I will protect the kingdom. I will cleanse it of forbidden bonds and Omega corruption." "Liar!" Lyra hissed. Kael's hand trembled on the water's surface. The High Seer's gaze turned toward the empty space beside the throne, a place where the Luna's seat had stood untouched for generations. "Yet the moon is restless," she murmured. "I feel a bond unacknowledged, a fated mate unclaimed." Murmurs rippled through the hall. Ryden sneered. "The Alpha King lost the goddess's favor. He bound himself to a traitor Omega. We must restore purity to the bloodline." The elders nodded, some reluctantly, others with eager malice. Lyra's chest squeezed. "They want to use your absence as proof," she whispered. "Proof that you're unfit to rule." Kael's eyes blazed. "I left to protect you. To keep the prophecy safe." "Prophecy?" Ryden laughed in the vision. "There is no prophecy. Only weakness disguised as destiny." The moon pool quivered, displeased by his blasphemy. Lyra looked up at Kael. "If Ryden takes the throne, Omegas will suffer. Your heir will be a pawn. The laws will worsen." "I know," Kael said, the words strained like a growl. "So what will you do?" He stared into the vision of his crumbling kingdom, then lifted his hand. The water blurred and went still again, reflecting only their faces. "I will go back," he said. Lyra's heart dropped. "Kael. And I will not return alone." They stood once more beneath the cracked ceiling where the crescent moon poured a blade of silver light over the dais. The prophecy mural watched them, the carved woman with the crescent scar forever caught between two wolves. Kael paced the edge of the light, his cloak swirling, his wolf form pressing hard against his skin. He looked every inch the Alpha King, powerful, furious, unbowed. But Lyra could see the fear threaded through his resolve. "If I appear before the Pack Council," he said, "they will demand I reject you. Publicly. Completely. As proof of my loyalty to their law." Lyra's hands curled into fists to stop their trembling. "And if you refuse? They will declare me rogue," he said. "Outlaw. No longer Alpha King. Ryden will claim the throne by blood challenge or council vote. And the kingdom? Will bleed," he said flatly. Silence folded around them. Lyra stepped into the moonlight, letting it paint her hair silver. The medallion against her chest warmed, the Luna sigil pulsing in time with her heartbeat. "What if you don't go back as just a king?" she asked quietly. Kael frowned. "What do you mean?" "What if you go back as prophecy?" she said. "As the Alpha King who broke chains, and the Luna who forgave him. Together. Publicly. Before the Moon Goddess and the Pack." He stared at her. "They will hate you," he said. "Fear you. Call you Pretender Luna. Rebel Omega. They will accuse you of manipulating me, seducing the throne through witchcraft." "They already call me traitor," Lyra said. "Let them add Luna to the list." He almost smiled at her defiance. "Almost. If we stand together," she continued, voice steadying, "Moonfall will stand with us. The prophecy will stand with us. The goddess will stand with us. Ryden may have the council, but you have truth." Kael stepped closer, piercing gaze searching her face. "This fight will mark you," he said quietly. "Body and soul. There may be no peaceful life after this. No quiet village, no anonymity. You will be seen. Hunted. Revered. Hated. Lyra's throat tightened, but she lifted her chin. I was never meant for a quiet life, she whispered. The moon goddess didn't give me this bond just to watch me die in chains. His hand rose, cupping the side of her neck, thumb brushing her pulse. The touch was reverent and claiming all at once. Lyra, he said, voice rough. If I lose everything but keep you, will that be enough? Tears burned her eyes. If you keep your soul, she said, you lose nothing. His forehead tipped to hers, silver eyes closing as he breathed her in. Then we go to the throne hall, Kael murmured. Under the blood moon, if it comes to that. We face Raiden. We face the council. We face my kingdom. Our kingdom, Lyra corrected softly. His lips curved. Our kingdom, he agreed. The bond mark over her heart flared like fire. His answered, unseen but undeniable. In the cold stillness of Moonfall Sanctuary, with prophecy carved into the stone and crescent moonlight washing over them, the Alpha King and his fated Omega Luna chose their path. Not law. Not fear. Destiny. And somewhere, far above the mountain, the moon goddess turned her gaze toward the coming battle and whispered to the stars. The journey back to the fortress was silent except for the whisper of wind and the steady beat of Stormbinder's hooves. Snow melted beneath the horses' heat, steam rising like smoke from a battlefield not yet begun. Kael rode with Lyra pressed to his chest, his hands firm around her waist, his heart steady only because hers beat with it. As they approached the towering stone walls, the horns blared, 3 deep notes that shook the earth. Lyra tensed. That's the summons for coronation. And the summons for execution, Kael muttered. They want to crown Raiden by sunrise. He dismounted in one swift motion, helping Lyra to the ground. Her legs trembled from cold and fear, but she clung to the medallion at her chest, the symbol of her bloodline, the truth the council had tried to bury. Kael cupped her face. Stay behind me, but not hidden. They must see you. I'm ready, she whispered. No, he said softly, brushing a tear from her cheek. You're brave. He took her hand. Together they walked into the fortress. Guards parted, stunned. Omegas watched from shadows, breaths held. Wolves in armor paused mid-step, uncertain for the first time in years. Kael did not look at any of them. His gaze was fixed forward, toward the throne hall where destiny waited. The massive doors opened with a thunderous groan. Inside, the council stood in rigid rows. The High Seer at their center. Raiden at the foot of the throne, hand resting arrogantly on the carved wolf crest. When Kael and Lyra crossed the threshold, the hall erupted in gasps. She lives? He freed her? The forbidden bond! Raiden's smirk faltered. Kael's voice silenced the hall. Step away from my throne. Raiden laughed once, sharp. You have no authority. The council has voted. You chose an Omega over the law. You are stripped of your crown. Kael didn't look at him. He lifted Lyra's hand. And I choose again, he said, voice echoing like a war cry. Before my kingdom. Before the moon goddess. Before all who dare judge us. The hall trembled. Lyra's breath caught as Kael stepped onto the dais, pulling her beside him. I broke her chains. Kael continued. I defied your laws. I followed my bond. His gaze swept the council. And I would do it again. Murmurs surged, fear from some, awe from others. Raiden snarled. You admit to treason? I admit to destiny, Kael said. Then he turned to Lyra. Her throat closed as his thumb brushed her bond mark. Lyra of the lost Luna line, Kael said, voice softer but no less powerful. I claim you as my fated mate. The hall exploded, but Kael raised his palm, and the roar died instantly. Lyra trembled, tears gathering in her lashes. And I, she whispered, accept. Moonlight burst through the high windows, silver fire swirling around them. The sanctuary's magic followed them even here, pulled by truth, by prophecy, by the goddess's will. The High Seer staggered, staff glowing violently. The prophecy, she gasped. The bond, it is real. The goddess has returned her favor. Raiden lunged, blade drawn. Kael shoved Lyra behind him, but she grabbed his arm. No, she whispered. Together. Power flared through their bond mark, brighter than any moonbeam. A pulse of energy surged outward, a wave of silver light that struck Raiden mid-charge. He screamed as the magic ripped the blade from his hand, hurling him across the hall. He crashed into a pillar, crumpling to the floor. Silence fell. The High Seer stepped forward, trembling. The Moon Goddess has chosen, she declared. Your bond is sanctioned. Your throne is restored. Kael exhaled once, long and unsteady. Raiden struggled to his knees. No, this isn't. Kael's voice darkened. You threatened my mate. You threatened my kingdom. He raised his hand. Every wolf in the hall bowed. Kael stepped down from the dais, looming over Raiden. In the name of the Moon Goddess, Kael said, I exile you. Raiden spat blood. This isn't over. Kael leaned in. It is. Guards seized Raiden, dragging him from the hall. Lyra's breast shuddered as Kael turned back to her. Every Omega watched her with hope. Every warrior bowed their head. Every elder fell silent. The High Seer knelt first. Luna, she whispered. Lyra froze, heart pounding. Kael stepped behind her, hands steady on her shoulders. Rise, he murmured softly against her ear. Let them see who you are. Lyra lifted her chin. The hall echoed with a single word, spoken by every throat, from warriors to elders to trembling Omegas. Luna! Her knees weakened with emotion, but Kael caught her, turning her gently toward him. You saved me, he whispered. You freed me, she breathed. He smiled. Truly smiled, for the first time since she had met him. No more dungeon, he said. No more chains. No more fear. Lyra's fingers curled into his cloak. Then what comes next? Kael brushed his forehead to hers, voice a soft vow. Peace, he said. And a kingdom we build together. She leaned into him, heart full, eyes closing as his lips met hers in a kiss that sealed fate and future and forgiveness all at once. For the first time in years, the throne hall felt warm. The kingdom breathed again. The Alpha King and his fated Omega Luna stood united, prophecy fulfilled, destiny rewritten. And the Moon Goddess smiled. Thank you for listening to In the Chains of the Midnight Dungeon, a full-length Alpha and Omega fantasy romance. More cinematic love stories, forbidden bonds, and Moon Goddess destinies are coming soon. If you enjoyed this one, stay tuned for the next tale in the series. Just say, new story, when you're ready.